All right, so who is Trump protecting? You have to wonder. I don't believe, and I know that some of you guys were in the comments, you're really mad at me about this, by the way. I said, I don't believe that Trump is in the Epstein files. You're like, Candace, come on. He's obviously in the Epstein files. And I maintain I am being...
On the Daily Wire's Candace Owens unleashes on Trump's most protected secrets and asks, who is he really protecting, himself, his family, or powerful allies? As the Epstein files swirl, Candace zeroes in on jaw-dropping links between Jared Kushner's $2 billion Saudi payday, Harvard scandals, and the hidden hand guiding 2024. This explosive segment changes everything.
Genuine with you when I say that I really do not think that Trump is in these files in a way that he's nervous about coming out. I just don't see that. I do believe, however, that he could be motivated to protect someone else that is, or to protect somebody else who would be implicated by this blackmail scandal. He definitely is somebody that I think would move mountains to protect his children. And I would almost say, especially Ivanka. I don't think Ivanka Trump is in the files. I don't think that she's caught on camera doing anything. But there is something about this story of Jared Kushner and Ivanka that is now making me uncomfortable. And what I'll tell you is that throughout the first term, and I was very much around them, and I will say this, Jared and Ivanka are lovely people. They are very kind, and I'm not covering them to pretend that they've ever done anything wrong that I know about. But I think it made a lot of people in the MAGA movement uncomfortable that Jared was so intimately involved, right? He was the person that had Trump's ear, right? There is the king, and then there is the person who whispers into the king's ear. The king's advisor holds a lot of power. There are books about that, this is who the president was. This is who actually held the power. I think it's called like Friends of the President or All the President's Friends. I can't remember the book. But anyways, Jared was that person. Everybody knew that if you wanted to get something done, you went through Jared. Okay, Jared was running the White House the first term. He just was. And his demeanor is such that when he was doing it, he was doing a very good job because everybody likes Jared, which is to say that he doesn't ruffle any feathers in the process. And what I think bothered me was Jared had so much power and he got a lot done that he wanted through President Trump.
Kushner's sudden financial windfall after leaving the White House isn't just suspicious. It raises serious questions about influence, loyalty, and unprecedented global deals linked directly to Trump's own inner circle.
But then when Jared left his post at the White House, suddenly we learn that Saudi Arabia injects $2 billion into his fund. Okay, this is a headline in the Wall Street Journal. Jared Kushner's new fund plans to invest Saudi money in Israel. Okay, and the small print there reads, the fine print, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund committed $2 billion to Mr. Kushner's affinity partners. That's the name of his fund, agreeing to allow investment in Israeli firms for the first time. So that happens as soon as he leaves the White House. And then you go, okay, your father is running again and Ivanka's nowhere to be seen. When I say nowhere to be seen, I mean that even in a lead up, okay, that's fine. You say you want to leave politics and that was the official story. You just want to spend time with your family. But she was so unaffected by the 2024 race that she didn't even dedicate a post to like voting on the night of the election. I'm not kidding. The night before the election, I don't know if you guys remember this, Ivanka took to X while everyone's worried about whether or not we're going to have a country. Like, the panic that you feel when you're a citizen, and it matters who's going to lead this country. Like, it actually matters. So whether you were hoping for Kamala, I certainly wasn't, or whether you're hoping for Trump, the idea that the other person could win, people had anxiety. I had anxiety about the future for my children. I was like, we may not have a country in 4 years. Not Ivanka. She didn't even say like, hey, I'm going to stay out of it, but vote who you want to vote. She did a birthday tribute to herself. She did. The night before, she did a birthday. This was the post the night before the election. And she wrote, this past week, I turned 43. So it wasn't even like it was her birthday eve. It was like the week before she turned 43. And then she wrote, reflecting on life's lessons, here are some truths that I've learned along the way. 1, family and friends are everything. 2, forgive people. It frees you. 3, everyone's a teacher. 4, avoid lashon hara, which is gossip. 5, trust yourself. 6, nourish your body. 7, get sunshine. I'm like, wow, that's nice. That's nice. The night before, like, that's what's concerning you. We're all on edge. We're all biting our nails off here. And she's, like she's on Zanga from the 2000s, like she's coming up with these quotes that you put on your AIM profile when you're away. You just discovered quotes.com and you got to make a AIA away message, AIM away message, or make a profile because you just broke up with your boyfriend when you're 13. It just missed the mark, you know? And then I realized, wow, this means that she is not impacted one way or the other. It means that they have classed into that part of society where elections don't matter because your family's good. Your family is good either way. And I had that thought. I said, well, yeah, Jared just got $2 billion. Now you guys are gone. You don't even care about whether or not you don't even care if your father wins this election. You're not even saying go vote. There's nothing. There was no work that was done. And so regarding the money, they would think after being in the office and speaking to your father-in-law that maybe that money would be coming to America in a big way. Well, Forbes did a deep dive on where that money was going. This was the headline. It was why Jared Kushner will become a billionaire no matter who wins. That was the energy that I got from her post. Doesn't matter. And in that article, it tells us, quote, Affinity had a slow start, deploying almost no capital in its first year while Kushner learned the ropes and navigated a turbulent pandemic market. But it's since picked up the pace and has now invested about $1.6 billion in at least 8 firms in Brazil, Germany, Israel, the US and UK, and the UAE in industries ranging from finance to energy. Its most notable investments so far are the ones that it made in Israel. In September of 2023, Affinity announced a $110 million deal for a 15% stake in the automotive and credit business of the conglomerate Shlomo Group. It was the first ever known investment by Saudi and Qatari wealth funds in Israel. I'm just going to LOL that because I'm funded by Qatar. Okay, take down Candace Owens. It's just like Israel does deals with Qatar the whole time. That's the point here. They say it's significant because neither Gulf state has diplomatic relations with Jerusalem, and Kushner had to obtain waivers from both governments to make that happen. So he is acting as an intermediary between Qatar and Israel and getting this deal done, right? While the rest of us are being accused of being funded by Qatar for some reason, I guess this is fine. Like the Zionists are fine with this. The Shlomo deal, tells us, was closed in January, and 6 months later, Affinity bought some $130 million in shares of the publicly traded Israeli financial services from Phoenix Financial. And this is what Jared had to say about that. He said, quote, it's only brought me closer with my investors. The fact that I'm investing Gulf money into Israel post-October 7th, that's very important. We need to bring everyone together, he said. Okay, I really do wish that money was being invested in America, again, because you used the office to facilitate deals that would help you and your family. Of course you did that. But what's also striking is Jared's post, because then you wonder, okay, what is his vision after October 7th? We know what it is because really just a few months after October 7th, Jared was on the stage at Harvard, of course, and he had this to say about October 7th. Again, just a couple of months after, nobody knew what was going to happen. We were told they were just going to quick military response in Gaza. Now we realize it's an ethnic cleansing. They are intentionally it's a demolition. It's just a controlled demolition, essentially, is what we're looking at. They're demolishing everything in sight. And this is what Jared Kushner had to say on stage at Harvard just a couple of months after. He apparently maybe saw that demolition before the rest of us. Take a listen.
I think that both sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have, a terrorist organization enclaved right between them. I mean, Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up.
That's like very nice way of saying ethnically cleanse the region, clean it up, and then we've got some valuable property.
The segment exposes how even before the world understood the devastation, Kushner was already mapping out business opportunities in Gaza, stirring outrage over profit and politics colliding at the highest levels.
We've got some valuable waterfront property. Then we know Trump's then talking about building Trump hotels, and it really, really makes you wonder. Okay, that was February 15th, 2024. And he already had a real estate vision for people being moved out of Gaza. So we go back to our indicators, right? Our indicators. Do we have that, guys, from the beginning? We were talking about this. Identity laundering, the Midas touch, sexual deviancy, theater, historical revisionism. And regarding the Midas touch, apparently it has been reported, and this was not a political report, by the way. This was done in 2006, before Jared Kushner was in the public domain. There was this guy who said that, yeah, Jared Kushner got into Harvard because of this Midas touch. They were saying that he did not have the grades to get into Harvard. And I'll tell you about this guy. This guy's Dan Golden. He wrote a book back in 2006 called The Price of Admission. He was investigating at that time, again, not related to politics left or right. He just thought it was interesting that there were so many of these people going to Harvard that were underqualified. He was investigating why so many of the elite children get into Harvard, despite not having the academics to do so. And Jared Kushner came up in his investigation naturally. And according to him in his research, he writes, quote, New Jersey real estate developer Charles Kushner, that's Jared's father, we're going to talk about him in a second, had pledged $2.5 million to Harvard University in 1998, before, not long before, his son Jared was admitted to the prestigious Ivy League school. At the time, Harvard accepted about 1 of every 9 applicants, he writes. He then went out and spoke to the former administrators of Jared's high school about this peculiarity. You decide to donate before your son is, deciding that he wants to go there. He's about to apply. And he tracked down a former administrator of Jared's high school, that's a Frisch school. And in his book, he quotes the administrator as having said, quote, there was no way anybody in the administrative office of the school thought that he would, on the merits, get into Harvard. That's a former official, again, of the Frisch School in Paramus, New Jersey. The administrator goes on to say, quote, his GPA did not warrant it. His SAT scores did not warrant it. We thought for sure there was no way this was going to happen. Then lo and behold, Jared was accepted. Okay. So Charles Kushner, then he does more work, discovers that he is on the board of something at Harvard or on some commission at Harvard along with his wife, and that they were allowed to be on that commission despite the fact that by then he had already been found guilty of financial crimes. And so what are we looking at here? Again, it's one of these stories. We came from Russia and then suddenly we had millions of dollars within a couple of months. Just hard work pays off, man. What can I tell you? We just worked really hard. Fortune. That's the Kushner family story. It's an interesting one. And when you talk about sexual deviancy and blackmail, I am really questioning why on earth Trump thought it was appropriate to name Charles Kushner as the ambassador, after granting him a pardon, as the ambassador to, of course, France. Because what do we know for a fact about Charles Kushner? Well, we know that when he went to prison, it was for tax evasion and for witness tampering. And if you're wondering whether or not he was guilty, and you don't know how disgusting this story is, the attorney general at the time who put him away was Chris Christie, attorney general of New Jersey. And I never knew the backstory of that, of what Charles Kushner did. And it is, I'm just going to let you listen to Chris Christie tell it, because Margaret Hoover was questioning him on PBS's firing line. This is a journalist, Margaret Hoover. And she was asking Chris Christie about that time he put Charles Kushner into prison. Take a listen.
I was surprised that you didn't give yourself more of a defense for prosecuting Charles Kushner in the book.
I just think that it was so obvious he had to be prosecuted that, if a guy hires a prostitute to seduce his brother-in-law and videotapes it and then sends the videotape to his sister to attempt to intimidate her from testifying before a grand jury, do I really need any more justification than that? It's one of the most loathsome, disgusting crimes that I prosecuted when I was U.S. attorney. And I was U.S. attorney in New Jersey, Margaret, so we had some loathsome and disgusting crime going on there. But I just laid out the facts, and any objective person who looks at the facts knows, confronted with those facts, I had a moral and an ethical obligation to bring that prosecution.
The conversation turns to staggering family scandals. Candace details how Trump pardoned Charles Kushner, convicted of intimidation and blackmail, and then named him ambassador, leaving viewers shocked at the tangled web of privilege and power.
I know a lot of people have beef in their family. We got family issues. Everybody got family issues. This is not your regular family issue. Could you imagine this? Your sibling is getting in trouble for tax evasion. You have information that the government wants pertaining, so they want to make you a witness. To stop you from being a witness, your brother goes to your husband, decides to hire a prostitute to seduce him, and video records your husband having sex with a prostitute. And then once he gets that recording, he goes to you and threatens you with it. I am speechless. More speechless that Trump granted him a pardon. And not only granted him a pardon, that's one thing, okay? You want to do favors? That's what pardons are all about at the end of your presidency anyway. Like everyone does it by left and right. So like everybody's guilty for doing this. There's no one side is better than the other. They look out for their homies in the end. But to then give him the ambassadorship of France? Maybe he was overqualified for that, actually. Sexual deviancy. Maybe he was overly qualified for that position, but it makes you wonder why he wanted it. Why somebody that's in their 70s wants, and I don't know if he speaks French, maybe he does. Why would he want to be the ambassador of France? What are the perks of being an ambassador? Well, you become an intermediary. I think that's some of the perks. But these questions should be asked now because it seems like have been completely played, and we are being played over something as sinister as crimes against children. We're being called stupid, right? We're being called weaklings for saying, excuse me, there's not just smoke here, there is fire. And I don't like it. I don't like Jared's involvement in the Middle East. I think it's a conflict of interest at best for Trump right now, that of what Ivanka and Jared are up to, their path to becoming billionaires is a conflict of interest at best. Who are they more loyal to? Who is Trump more loyal to? Are Ivanka and Jared more loyal to Israel? Is Trump therefore more loyal to his child, Ivanka, than he is to the United States? Are these fair questions? I think they are. Okay? Because now you're gaslighting us, and we're going to continue to ask these questions.
Candace's bombshell segment dives into the heart of the Epstein files, raising the most forbidden questions. Has Trump's loyalty shifted from his country to his inner circle? From Kushner's billion-dollar Saudi deals to the curious ties with Harvard and controversial pardons, this is more than a family affair. It's a global web of influence and secrecy. Stay tuned and join the conversation because no question is off limits when it comes to exposing the truth.